Welcome to the Technical Skills series of videos associated with the University of Queensland Architectural Communications course. In this series we will work through a process of creating a hybrid drawing. Hybrid drawings are reasonably easy to produce and quite effective. They can be perhaps a bit quick and dirty in that they are not always 100% accurate, but they are nonetheless effective in generating engaging content that blends real-life images with drawings. When referring to hybrid drawings, essentially we mean a drawing that brings together scaled line work drawings with background images that are not to scale. It is not always necessary to maintain scaled line drawings when making hybrid drawings. For example, you might want to take a quick line drawn perspective sketch and superimpose it onto a background to create a photo montage for a project. When superimposing orthographic and scaled drawings to a photographic background, we need to be careful in setting up the image so that the drawing and the background image are compatible. A one-point sectional perspective is a good example where scale is important. We'll be creating a hybrid drawing of an existing situation. We will take a measured section of the UQ St Lucia campus Great Court and blending it with the equivalent photo of the cloister. We'll be doing the blending in Photoshop. However, you could also use combinations of Photoshop and Illustrator if you wanted to keep the line work as editable vectors. There are many situations where a hybrid drawing, such as a sectional perspective, would come in useful. For example, you could use photographs of scale models and hybridize them with orthographic drawings to create eye-catching presentations. This would allow you to get as much benefit from the time invested in making models in the first instance. In any hybrid drawing though, it is essential to think ahead and capture the best image you can to suit the drawing. In this instance, we are looking at capturing and representing a section of the UQ St Lucia campus Great Court cloister. It is important to try and get the camera set up as perpendicular to the subject section as you can. Also, make sure that the camera is mounted on a tripod, as you will want the camera settings with a low ISO of 100 and a small aperture as close to f/22 as you can. This will give you a crisp image as well as a very wide depth of field. The result will be a very slow shutter speed, hence the need for a tripod. In these two examples, we have moved the camera a little bit away from the doorway, rather than cropping the edge of the image through the center of the doorway. However, if we look at the way the perspective is shaping up, we still do not have a complete section through the doorway. This is not the end of the world, as the extension of the drawing can help bridge the gap, but be conscious of what you are taking so that you will have something to work with back at the studio. In the next options for the background image, we have brought the camera closer to the door so that the edge of the photo frame cuts through the doorway. The one-point perspective is even more disconnected in this instance, and we have another problem as the image on the right has a slight perspective vanishing to the right. Though this is subtle, it means that the camera was not perpendicular to the section cut. The reason for this is that we have tried to get a bit of the Great Court into the image. The effect of the second vanishing perspective is subtle, and we could correct it in Photoshop, but just in principle, try and keep the perspective in check. Also, if you mount the camera on the tripod pointing up or down, the verticals of the image will also tend to generate a vanishing point. While taking your background images, take some detail shots so that you have some references when drawing up the measured section back at the studio. Here we have taken a fairly comprehensive set of measurements of the section. Note that we couldn't reach to all parts of the section, but have interpolated the heights based on the block coursing. The details of the timber door and the overhead window have been drawn on a separate call-out sketch in a little bit more detail. A proper measured section through the cloister, based on our measurements, would look a little bit like this. In this drawing we have shown the elevation detail as well as the main cut section. However, because we are compositing the drawing with a photograph, all we really need is the cut section, as the rest of the elevation will be revealed in the photograph. This ends the source capture instructional for the hybrid drawing series. The following instructionals will take you through the process of compositing the images in Photoshop. Thanks for listening.